Following the loss of their son, a retired sheriff and his wife leave their Montana ranch to rescue their young grandson from the clutches of a dangerous family living off the grid in the Dakotas. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. I'm back again sharing with you all my spoiler-free review for the new film Let Him Go, starring Diane Lane and Kevin Costner. I'm very excited to let you all know what I thought about this movie and if you should check it out in this review. Before we dive into it, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you all are following me on all my other social media accounts. That way you can stay up to date on what's going on over here at Movie Files. If you are new to the channel, welcome to the community. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my other movie reviews, TV coverage, live streams, all the fun things we do on this very channel. It would mean the world to me if you all can give this video a thumbs up. It helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And in the comments, let me know if you all are excited for this film. If you're a fan of these two incredible actors, once you've seen the movie, let's discuss your pros, your cons, just your overall thoughts. Let's have some great discussions in the comments below. So Diane Lane, huge fan of her work and her career, whether it be in movies. I know she's been in stage plays. I just think she's such a great actress. And then Kevin Costner, whether it be obviously, Bodyguard and all the great classic films he's been in. I'm a big fan of them, and them coming together once again. They were married in BVS and Man of Steel, so it's cool to kind of see them on the screen again. So what did I think about this film? What were some of my positives? Well, let's jump into it. So something that definitely comes to mind as far as a positive is I like how the film approaches this kind of Western-ish type of tone, but then it throws in the dramatic elements because we're seeing these two characters played by Diane Lane and Kevin Costner as they recently lost their son, and now their daughter-in-law is now being married to this new man, and then he wants to take his family somewhere else. So that means not only they're losing their grandson and not being able to see him on a day-to-day basis, but they're also kind of losing their son yet again, because that is kind of the true a person that represents what their son was, and that's kind of the last thing that they remember him by. So I kind of like, again, the Western type of tones and vibe and the atmosphere that was created within this movie, but also seeing the character's journey of grieving, but also trying to do whatever it takes to protect their family. Definitely something that shined through this film were the performances by Diane Lane and Kevin Costner. Keying in on Kevin Costner's performance as he's this retired sheriff of 30 years. He doesn't have much to say in this film, but when he speaks, you know to listen. What I like about Kevin Costner as this retired sheriff, again, he has this type of way of reading people. So like when he's, interrogating people on where his grandson can be, you see that this is him going back to him being a sheriff and him knowing how to read the room and how to read a certain evaluate people. But then when it comes to his relationship with his wife, Margaret, and knowing that he values her opinion so much and listens to a lot of what she has to say, and he's willing to do whatever it takes because he knows that pleasing his wife is definitely his number one priority, but also protecting his family. So I kind of love this, again, this kind of almost Stone-like character where there's moments in this film where he kind of lacks emotion, right? I don't want to get into the spoilers, but when he finds his son, right, and you see the way he handles that, when he finds the news out that his grandson's been taken to this other off-grid area of Dakota, you kind of see that he's lacking some of that emotional punch, which is given by Diane Lane. But when he hears the sadness and the desperation coming from his wife, he steps into the gear, and that emotionless character becomes more alive because he values his wife's opinion at a high regard. Now, speaking of his wife, played by Diane Lane, I think easily she's the best part of the movie, for me at least. I think she's the heart and soul of this movie. And again, going back to just different layers that she's given, I think out of all the characters, she's given the most on the script in regards to the film. And she delivers. I mean, she's like a grandmother that reminds me of my grandmother, which if I was in a situation, you bet your bottom dollar, my grandmother would travel hours, days, whatever it takes to come get me out of the situation. I kind of love that approach that she has, where she has that kind of bite, right? She has that kind of grizzly bear, mama grizzly bear mentality, but she's also very charming, very, well-spoken, as well as just being able to get the information out of people. And I love this kind of good cop, bad cop that we get approached between how Kevin Costner wants to get information about where his grandson is versus how Diane Lane's character, Margaret, does. So I kind of like their chemistry, number one, but in particularly going back to Diane Lane, I thought that she was just so great, and seeing the switch between the hey, have you seen my grandson, to her kicking, get into gear and doing what it takes to protect her family as well. So I kind of really enjoyed her performance. I thought she was the best part of this movie. Now, I definitely want to give props to Bobo Stewart, who played Peter. If I'm being honest, I would have loved to have seen a movie just based on his upbringing. I thought that young man as Bobo Stewart, as Peter in this film, kind of this outcast of a sense, and hearing his story was so tragic, and I would have, again, loved to dove deeper into that. But man, this guy did a really good job in a little bit of scenes that that we spent with him and the scenes that he shared with Diane Lane, I thought had a lot of emotional impact, and I thought that he did a really good job in this movie as well. I also want to mention that I thought when the film made the switch between the dramatic moments to the more serious confrontations, I felt those moments had the tension. I felt that the direction was there in regards to you felt for the characters. I'm thinking of the scene that involves a hatchet in a hotel, and also when we go to the wee boy's house, especially in the third act, I thought that those tense-filled moments really stuck the landing. Can't forget and leave out one of my favorite composers working today. I thought Michael Giacchino's score definitely was a character on its own. It definitely brought those Western vibes that I had mentioned, but also when those emotional moments happen, you really kind of felt that emotional impact based on the great score by Michael Giacchino. So transitioning some of my criticisms that I had with the movie. Now, I haven't read the 2013 book that was written by Larry Watson that this film was based upon, but I felt like there was definitely some character development that was lacking within this script, which was the director who wrote this movie as well, Thomas Bezucha. I felt like there were moments, like I think of the wee boy family, right? And how they had this hold on the town and never really understand their intimidating factor of the town, right? I think of even moments like lack of character development between Donnie and Lorna, the daughter-in-law that's married into this new family. I would have loved to have dove deep into how they came about meeting each other. Might sound minor, but I wish we would have gotten maybe one or two scenes within that. And then I even think of Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. I wish there was more time with them as grandparents with their grandson. I would have loved to have spent a little bit, one or two more scenes with them. We get like maybe 20, 30 seconds of them being grandparents, as well as my thoughts on their relationship with their son. I just wish, I felt like, when there's always a movie based upon a comic or a book, I felt like there was definitely, the outline was there, but the director really didn't dive deeper into the character development and into the backstory of these characters. So going back to the wee boy family, which I'm not going to lie, them as this intimidating type of family, they kind of reminded me of like this cartoonish version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre family, the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I felt like they were sometimes in the wrong movie and just too over the top for me. There were moments that I did find them to be kind of intimidating, kind of menacing when I think of the first meeting that they have with Diane Lane as Margaret and Kevin Costner, and I think of that hotel scene. But there's other moments where I just found them to be too over the top and just didn't fit the tone of what this movie was. So going back to my issues with the script, not only lacking some character development, but I found the emotional to be lacking from the dialogue. Now, if it wasn't for Diane Lane, Bobo Stewart, Kevin Costner, I think a lot of this movie would have fell flat, but the acting elevated the script because I thought the script was kind of poorly written, especially when it comes to emotional impact. And then lastly, speaking of the emotional impact, I had some emotional moments within that third act, and particularly with Kevin Costner and Diane Lane, going back to a callback to earlier in the movie. But when it comes to the actual scene in the house and all that, I found some of it to be a little hokey. I found the character motivation of how Peter came there, him and Diane Lane. I don't feel like there was, again, enough character development for that character to be within that moment. So, again, I applaud the kind of grandioso approach to the third act, but I found that the execution was kind of lacking. So before I give you all my score and overall thoughts, make sure you all give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already, leave your thoughts on the film in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of my other videos. With that being out of the way, let me give you guys my final overall thoughts. So at the end of the day, we don't get a lot of films like this, right? Involving grandparents going off into these unknown territories to fight for their family, to fight for their grandson. And to get this type of Western type of drama, I think is really rare, right? And I do applaud the performances by Bobo Stewart, Diane Lane, and Kevin Costner. Though I felt the direction and the script was kind of poor, I still enjoyed the film for what it was. So with that being said, I'm going to give Let Him Go a solid 3 out of 5. Now, look, I know this isn't the sexiest film. This isn't the most entertaining film. But if you all give this movie a shot, let me know what you all thought about it in the comments below. As always, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any of my other content. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you guys on the next video.